Hello, everybody. We're live, and I'm joined today by Zemalf and Pakratt. We are going to be discussing all of the communal rooms, guild halls, temples, taverns, how to use them to your best advantage, and a couple of tips and tricks and a few little warnings about pitfalls that you might come across with these particular rooms. And so first of all, to introduce my guests, we have Zemalf. So Zemalf, would you like to introduce yourself? Let people know where they can find you, when you stream Dwarf Fortress, and how long you've been playing Dwarf Fortress for.
And good evening, or in my case, good night, everyone. It's the middle of the night for me, living in Finland. So yes, my name is Zemalf, and I've been doing YouTube videos for a long time, since like 2011. And at the moment, I'm streaming Dwarf Fortress about 2 to 4 days a week, Thursdays, Fridays, and then weekends, a little bit more randomly. And I do have a long history with Dwarf Fortress. I've been playing for a long time. Like, I don't remember exactly, but somewhere right after or before the Z levels were introduced, so like 15 years or something.
Wow.
And I was kind of then back in the early days of my YouTube video making. I did make some Dwarf Fortress tutorials in like 2012, or let's say more of a tutorial let's play back then, when mostly on YouTube everyone was watching Captain Duck's videos. So then I did my own back then. And yeah, that's kind of in short my
and
Dwarf Fortress history.
How did you come across Dwarf Fortress in the first place?
Yeah, I as a game, I think it was an article in Finnish gaming magazine, like around 2007 or 2008, and I picked it up more or less then. And it's a game I've been playing like at least once a year. I've gone like through periods of playing it like non-stop, and then like playing a fortress a year or things like that. But it's been around this 15 years.
Yeah.
All time.
And Pakratt,
Yes.
would you mind introducing yourself and letting people know where they can find you, and also how long you've been playing, how you found out about the game? And I should say, for those people who are wondering, this is Pakratt of the Minecraft fame.
Fame, we'll go with that. Yeah, I've been around for a little bit in the YouTubes, starting with the Minecraft crew. So I've been around for a little while, so probably about as long as he's been around, actually.
Yeah.
YouTube is where I started the stuff, but I've been doing Twitch pretty much for the mainstay lately. YouTube's basically where I advertise that I do other things at this point. And I do indie games in general on here. I don't just do Minecraft. I don't just do Dwarf Fortress. I do a little bit of everything. Although my channel's been kind of filled with a lot of Dwarf Fortress lately. I don't know, something that seems to has brought that back around to the forefront. I didn't have a lot of experience with it before this. I tried playing it once back in the past, but as soon as I got the Steam release, and the thing that really stopped me was, I'll admit it, was the graphical interface. And as soon as their graphics were added to it, it just clicked. This has been my game since the Steam release, basically. So yeah.
Cool. And of course, we might hear a little bit of honey in the background. From time to time.
I kind of know her a little bit. Yeah, that's gotta be my wife.
Yeah.
So yes, she also streams, and yeah, we're in the same room. I mean, there's 2 giant walls of insulation between me and her, but Hun's Hun and I'm me. You hear us. I mean, it could be on the other side of the house. You'd still hear a scream now and again. So.
And Honey and I have been doing co-streams of Dwarf Fortress. I'm coaching Honey how to play. She's picking it up really fast, and she's doing really well with her fortress. She started with an elephant pulling her wagon in. She's had such a lucky start.
Yeah, I've always done these types of games in some way, shape, or form. I always love these types of games, but this is like her first involvement with anything like this. So I'm impressed that she's been taking to it so well. I think she's got a good teacher for it too.
Thank you. So today we are going to be talking about, well, let's start with, should we do this in order? Should we start with guild halls? So the communal rooms in general, but yeah, let's start with guild halls. So guild halls are a thing, I think, for beginner players. They're sometimes treated as a bit of a bit of a hurdle, not exactly a bonus thing. They're used passively. If dwarves ask for them, you place them down. I know when they were first introduced, that was my approach to it. It was like, oh god, these guys want a guild hall, let's place it down. But we're going to go through exactly how to do that if you get asked for a guild hall. But they're actually really powerful tools. Now, on my screen at the moment, I have Zemalf's Fortress. Zemalf, would you just like to give us a little guided tour of your fortress, and then we can start having a look at your guild halls?
Yeah, I can do that. Kind of at the moment on the screen is kind of my main one of the main floors with farming and smelting, where I have brought some magma from below, but kind of focusing on the guild halls. Kind of if you see these in this case most of them, these kind of 5 by 10 or 5 by 11 rooms that have been engraved, they are the various guild halls in this fortress, and in this particular fortress I have a lot of them. So but let's go back to the fortresses, the guild halls a little bit later.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Quickly,
Let's have a full tour first.
Yeah. So this fortress is my second fortress in this particular world, and it is the first fortress for dwarven civilization that was almost dead or dead. It had 0 sites on world generation, just a king left.
Oh,
so
right.
I built a fortress for another civilization first, but then I picked up this one, and the idea is that I will be rebuilding this civilization, but this is the first one, so I want to build like a good mountain home to start with.
Cool.
And kind of my I didn't have any particular plans for this, but I did end up embarking in an area with elephants or untamed wilds, and there were elephants, so we captured them and started taming them. And because we are 15 years into this fort, by now we already have the fully tamed elephants, as we have tamed and breeded them. But looking at the entrance, I tend to play Dwarf Fortress in a way that I want to be able to lock down fully, and then I kind of on purpose open my fortress to the enemies later on. So I have kind of bridges, everything like that, and I have utilized the soil levels for pasturing for the elephants because they eat a lot.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of soiling for those. And we see some blood here in the corridors. I'm funneling all the free caverns into my fortress through kind of one path, and then I can control them in the traps, like take forgotten beasts or whatever comes from the caverns. And I have a pretty elaborate trap system here. I'm gonna tease you a bit about it, but not going into too much deep. We have a flamethrower, and we have upright spear traps and minecart traps here. And this has been taking care of everything that comes into the fort, if I so choose to.
A flamethrower, I presume, is a forgotten beast, is it?
Yes, it's a fire-breathing forgotten beast. That was before we made it our minion. It was ruling one of the cavern layers, so it has 8 other forgotten beasts under its name. But yeah, it's breathing fire, and it's actually for some reason some reason it has not gotten the goblin kills that it has had. So I think it because they burn off its fire. I think it doesn't get the kills for them.
Right.
But I think it has at least like 10 or 15 or 20 goblins already by now. But yeah, let's go further in. I'm most of the time I'm kind of let's say function over form kind of player. So and a lot of old players might be familiar with this 11 by 11 square kind of build, and I have kind of very simple 9 11 by 11 squares that I started with, and then little bits kind of expanding from there as needed. For example, building the guild halls on the outskirts and things like that. And actually, I already showed. Let's start from this floor. So we have basically my stockpile floor, and then the barracks at the entrance where something might come in if they would sneak in. And on the upper part we have soap making, my food production still, and a kitchen. Maybe for the new players, as a little bit of tip, that you can actually feed the whole fortress for quite well with just one kitchen, one still, if you have a lot of plants, a lot of animals like I do, because we can see that I have a lot of food in stock, mostly from butchering those elephants who I already mentioned, and then also getting eggs from various birds, in addition to the farming I have. Our king has thing for gold, so we have made a lot of things out of gold for the king, like tables and chairs, and a lot of statues, because the king keeps asking for buckets and statues. So we have a lot of we have a lot of buckets, and I decided to make all the statues out of gold that the king asks, and they are then scattered around the place, kind of all over the place, including of course in the king's office and things like that. Going to this floor, we are using irrigated stone floors for the farming, and then kind of processing a lot of dimple cups so that we can dye our clothes with that, because we do have when we go further down again one harnessed forgotten beast for our silk. You'll see that in just a moment. About the community areas, that is the focus today. This is actually the floor I kind of started in, and more or less in this space here, because we have a dormitory that is no longer in use, but it's kind of for a long time was a buffer as an extra bed for when I was out of bedrooms. Then we have a tavern, not a big one, but maybe notable thing about this fortress is that I went for a really long time without tavern. And my attempt with that was to boost the use of the guild halls, so that they would instead go to the guild halls instead of go to the tavern. And then we have a generic temple, meaning a temple that is not dedicated to any particular deity. Yeah. And we will go into temples later, but at the moment I don't have any other temple here, so I don't have specific temples for, and it's been working in this case. We can talk about that then later on. Temples. And we have a hospital, and then next to the hospital, one of the guild halls, a doctor's hall, so they can also train there. And this is a kind of a placement I've been following, that the guild hall is right next to, or quite next to whatever profession that guild hall is. So doctor's guild next to a hospital and things like that. And then the before mentioned silk producer. So we have another forgotten beast here who produces silk, and this is at the moment not operational, so I can't really show it, but we put a bait animal here in this square, dropping it from above, and then this thing continuously shoots webs, and this silk farm method is almost exactly described in the Dwarf Fortress wiki under silk farming, for those who are interested in this. But the mechanism is that they shoot webs on this retracting bridge. It falls down, and from there we can drop it to the collection zone. And the only problem with this is that this produces a lot of silk.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
very,
at some point,
very prolific, aren't they?
yeah, I think we were at some point like 30,000 silk thread or something, and then maybe it's time to stop with that. Kind of not going into too much detail, but I always like to use a little bit of mine carts, even when it's not always even that practical. So we are hauling our rocks from kind of a quarry kind of work from here with two minecart tracks, and we've been mining around kind of a cavern pillar and also into the cavern pillar a little bit in this fort. I also went a level down. We have a bunch of barracks here for the, well, also I guess one type of zone, not that kind of communal zone that we were talking about, but I'm using these for the squad's gear. So they are placing their armors here. And that's more or less it, because the rest of this is just bedrooms. Maybe a little bit of highlight on the king's bedroom, almost full of golden things, of course.
Indeed.
As he does like that. And then you have been talking about stress and happiness before, but I do have a therapy zone here with one dwarf at the moment in the works. So they have their own bedroom, bunch of cats, keeping them happy, and also waterfall going through the place. And they are keeping themselves busy and satisfied at work by engraving these endless halls with their hopefully future happiness, but might also be their madness. So then it's kind of becomes a history of the fort in the end.
Oh, that's so
but yeah, that's my fortress kind of in a nutshell in here. And if I go back up, we can actually look at the guild halls a bit, and I could start from this one, because I think as there are new players watching as well, kind of I think we can show a little bit later how to actually set these up, but maybe my fort is showing more what is possible when you use them. So I actually started with the Engravers Guild almost at the beginning, and I'm not sure if it did have that much of an effect, but I embarked with Engraver, who was also highly skilled in teaching. My hopes was that kind of he would teach the others with the demonstrations more effectively. I ended up not that closely following how it was going, but we did end up with highly skilled engravers quite fast, so I guess it was working. But I guess the key takeaway from my guild setup in this one was that I set up early on Engravers Guild, Doctors Guild, and then Weaponsmiths and Armorsmiths Guild, hoping that we would get as many of those dwarves highly skilled as possible. And I set all these in the beginning as something that everyone can visit. And you mentioned before that kind of you can get these petitions that okay, now we want a guild hall, and that happens when you get 10 members of that particular profession. But for skill learning, you can build these guild halls before there is actually a guild.
Indeed.
So the guild hall is the zone you build from the meeting area and make a guild hall, and then later on, guild can pick that up, or you can fulfill that petition if you get a request to build a guild. So early on, I made these guild halls, kind of couple of them, citizens only, didn't have a tavern. So I noticed that they were, when they were not busy with work, they were either going to pray or they went into one of the guild halls because there was no other place to socialize. And then when they were socializing in there, sometimes someone started throwing demonstration, and kind of that's how the skills rolled up. And because the kind of the guild hall value requirements add up, this is actually a good example because there's kind of 3 phases in here. So what I did was that this one is one I did later, and it has more valuable engravings. but I made this about 5x11 design because it's already in the beginning surpassed the 5,000 value mark, so it adds as the first level of the guild hall, and then very easily I made them in a places that I can add as much space as needed. But for me, it was to that 11 by 11 or 10 by 11. And then when I have done that, for example, for this guild hall, it has gone over the 10,000 limit as a grand guild hall. And in this one, the reason why I had the engravers guild early on, because I wanted to have those highly skilled engravers that I could reach this much value without any furniture. As you can see, none of my guild halls have anything, so it's kind of not very decorative, as I said, function over form. So they are just there with the engravings. But to show, well, kind of a little bit of a disclaimer here, because this is 15 years old, but we were kind of in this situation already almost at like year 5 or 6. If we look at my engravers, where I started, we had
all those legendary engravers.
Yeah, so this is actually because with engravers, after I got, let's say, 5 or 6 of them, which is already huge amount, I turned it not to have citizens anymore, but members only. So we had only a handful of the engravers. But then with the weaponsmiths, I had for the first, I think, 8 years, one weaponsmith doing the actual weaponsmithing. But I think we have 40 legendary weaponsmiths. And later on, many of them has done things. But I think I had 30 or so legendary weaponsmiths, with only one of them actually touching a hammer. So that's the power of the guild halls, even if you don't have the guilds. And same thing with armorers. We have a lot of them on the legendary already. And then because this all, of course, also affects that almost everyone in the fort is at least dabbling in these ones. So then they there's a higher chance that we also get strange mood out of armorsmith or a weaponsmith, because they at least know something about these things. And then one thing I kind of did by accident, because I just wanted more highly skilled mechanics, but then I kind of forgot the guild hall on, so to speak. We have a lot of artifact mechanisms as a result of this. So yeah, we are pretty good in
good on mechanics.
Yeah. So yeah, but kind of a, I guess, a key takeaway from this, first of all, of course, get highly skilled dwarves to do, for example, weapons and armor. It does help with the strange moods a lot, because I think normally I've had, like, let's say 90% of the strange moods are going to the craftsdwarf's workshop, because kind of that's the default strange mood. But then in this one, it's been almost only weapons, armor, and mechanisms. So yeah, this helps with that as well.
Indeed. And so for people who are not familiar, when a dwarf goes into a strange mood, their strange mood will drive them to pick up the workshop that matches their highest moodable skill. Now, not all skills are moodable. So, for example, somebody whose highest skill is in cooking, for example. So our king here is a legendary cook, but as a cook, he couldn't go and claim a kitchen. So it's the highest of the skills that they can have a strange mood in, and some of the skills are associated with certain workshops. Like if you've got a miner, the miner will always go and claim a stoneworker's workshop. A carpenter will always go and get your woodworking workshop. An engraver will take a stone worker's workshop as well. So if there's your doctors, your farmers, the children, unless the kids have been hanging out in the Guildhall and have been learning something, they will always go and get a craftsdwarf's workshop. So if they don't have another workshop, if they don't have a movable skill, then they'll go and get the craftsdwarf's workshop. And then they'll produce some sort of trinket like a bracelet or earrings. But if weaponsmithing is their highest movable skill, then they'll go and get the weaponsmiths, or they'll go and claim a forge, and they'll give you some sort of legendary weapon, some sort of artifact weapon, which you will be good in the hands of your soldiers, or for me preferably, I prefer to put them into weapon traps. But yeah, you get some really, really nice artifacts.
Is that because they can't steal them at that point?
Yeah, I get rid of all of my artifacts that I can't bolt down. So if I can't install an artifact, then I sell it. I've had artifact trousers stolen off the rear end of my my lead military dwarf. So yes, I sell them, but with weapons, I can put them in weapon traps and they don't get stolen.
I'm much more casual about my artifacts. They are all in a stockpile behind one of the barracks. But related to that, well, there's not really a focus for today, but with artifacts, and in my previous forts, I had my captain of the guard be convinced into a plot by a visitor to give them their legendary shield. And then, of course, when we started investigating that with the justice system, the captain of the guard found that they themselves have been giving their own shield to the thief. So yeah, that's artifact stealing when you have visitors allowed. That's fun thing to have in the game as well.
Indeed. Shall we switch over to my screen now, and I'll just go through...
I think so. I don't have anything else to add right now from
yeah, cool. Yeah. And then we'll switch over. We'll show people. Hang on a second. I'll just minimize you. Yeah, we'll go through how you set up a Guildhall. So let's see. People have seen this fortress before. This is my the fortress where we created a model railway with blind. With just a monk cart track running around in a square. Let's go down to... Actually, I'll just find a bit of empty space somewhere. Let's zoom out. I think I've got an empty space up here. Yeah, I have. Okay. So when you first start your fortress, so you arrive, you've got 7 dwarfs. There'll be a little period where you can't really afford your dwarfs to be socializing. You'll be needing them to work. If they're not sleeping or drinking or eating, you want them to work because there's so much to do just to get secure, and you've only got 7 dwarfs to do it. But for me, it's usually around about the first autumn or winter. Once I've had my first 2 migrant waves through, that's when I start setting up guild halls. What about you, Zemalf? When do you start?
Actually, like, let's say before I've been underutilizing them a lot. Like I've been the kind of thing that I've built the guild halls when the dwarves have started asking for them, and as I kind of showed in this fort, I set them up as when the first migration wave came. We already had our first guild hall, started it back then.
Ah. Yeah, I've been waiting until, like I say, until I can spare the time with my dwarves. And Pakratt, what have you been doing with Guildhalls at the moment? Have you been waiting for dwarves to ask for them?
Oh, I haven't done anything with them special outside of just when they ask for them. I had a room prepped for them and say, "That's your space now." So
Yeah.
I just have a guild hall level, and yeah, I've only been putting them up when they've been asking for them.
So to
Like I didn't, I didn't know a lot of the benefits for those. So yeah, I'm still learning that.
Indeed. And this is Guildhalls are quite new in the game. They were introduced 2020, I think they were introduced as a new thing for us to play with. So to set up a Guildhall, it's a zone. You go to zones, meeting areas, and then just paint down a space. Doesn't need doors, doesn't need walls. I often start by putting my first Guildhalls in a corridor somewhere. We accept, and then click the plus sign to say new Guildhall. Let's see, we don't have an engraver's hall here, so I'll say we want this to be an engraver's guild. And then to allow everybody to be an engraver, you set it to citizens only. If you've got other people, if you've got guests in your fortress that you want to become citizens in the long run, you can do it citizens and long-term residents only. If you're struggling for a skill, then if you open it up to everybody, you might get somebody who knows something about that skill come visit your fortress and teach your dwarves. So, but usually I would have it on citizens only to give the dwarves somewhere to socialise. So at the beginning of the game, before you have a tavern, the dwarves can't socialise anywhere. They've got nowhere to socialise unless you give them a social space. So by putting down a guild hall for whichever skill you want to train up as the main skill of the fortress, like whichever skill you want the most moods in, or if there's a skill like Zemalf wants to train a huge number of animals, so having a huge number of animal trainers helps. So whichever skill you want to focus on, whether it's you want a large number of a specific profession, or whether it's you want to focus on giving everybody a strange mood in a particular direction, set up that guild hall first and do it really early. Do it a long time before you set up a tavern, because they will socialise in taverns as well, so it will split your dwarfs. They won't learn quite as much. But yeah, citizens only. And one little trick, I haven't used it in this fortress, but if you put the kids' stockpiles, kids' toys stockpiles in a guild hall, sometimes when they're going in and out to pick up toys and put toys away, they'll spot a demonstration and they'll watch a demonstration going on in a guild hall. And then if that kid has a strange mood, then they'll have a strange mood in the skill that you want them to have.
Yeah, and I think one thing I could add to that, maybe I kind of mentioned it as I was showing mine about that socializing aspect, kind of that as I was building, as an example, the guild halls close to the wherever that labor is happening. So I have the weaponsmiths close to the forges, and I have my carpenters guild close to the carpenter's place. So that's also when they are socializing there, and then when you actually have some job to do, they need to forge a weapon or forge a chair or do a chair. They are close to the workshops already.
Yeah. It just saves them from walking around too much as well.
Yeah.
So better use 1 or 2 guild halls at a time, asks Mr. Faber. It depends on what you want. If you will need to put down a tavern eventually. We'll talk about taverns later. Probably, I usually go for a tavern in about year 2 or so. Somewhere towards the back end of year 2, because they need a tavern to make merry. But if you put down 2 guild halls that are citizens only, then they will split their skills. So if you're specifically after strange moods with a particular, like if you want legendary weapons, then you want everybody focused on that, and that's more important to you than getting a bunch of skills in your fortress, then just put down the 1. But if you want lots of skilled people in lots of different skills, then put down as many as you like. They will split their time. And as I don't know about this actually, Zemalf, you might know. Can a dwarf belong to more than 1 guild?
That is an interesting thing. I'm not 100% sure on that. My gut feeling is that they are part of a guild in their highest skill. But while we are going there, I can actually check my fortress, because we have some who are legendary in so many things that they, at least in theory, they should be member of all those guilds.
If I have a look, let me just delete that. Otherwise, I'll leave it there accidentally. Yeah, I've only got 1 guild hall in this fortress.
Actually, just a quick answer to that. It seems very quickly checking that they are a member of only 1 guild. Because I have a legendary armorsmith, legendary weaponsmith, and they are former member of Armorers Guild and a current member of Metalsmiths Guild. So they have actually jumped into the kind of the top level guild of the smiths.
Right. And so when you get a petition for a guild hall, one of the things that newer players have difficulties with at times is remembering which guild hall you were petitioned. Well, not just the newer players. I think we all have this from time to time. Which guild hall was I asked to put down? 3 months ago, last season sometime, someone asked me for a guild hall. It wasn't an appropriate time to do it because I was busy fighting off a siege, and so I ignored it, or I accepted it, and I'm going to get round to it, but I've forgotten which guild hall they wanted. There isn't a list for which guild hall you have accepted the petition for. If you put down a meeting area and accept it, say it's a new guild hall, and then have a look through and see which one has more than 10 workers. If they've got 10, well, more than 9. If they've got 10 workers or more, then they'll have asked for a guild hall. If they've already got a guild, then you can find that out from the places menu. So if we go into places and locations, you can see which guild halls you've got. So in this fortress, I've got a weaponsmith's guild hall, a farmer's guild hall, and a metalsmith's guild hall. So if I go back to that meeting area, say it's a new guild hall, and then look through it and look to see if we've got 10 workers or more. So metalsmith, we've got one of those. Weaponsmith, we've got one of those. Farmers, no, I've only got 7 workers in there at the moment. There used to be 10, but I've moved around the job since they asked for a farmer's hall. and I don't have any other large numbers of people. So I can be pretty sure that I've met the requirements, or that I've fulfilled guild halls for everybody in the fortress. So any mandates I've agreed to, I must have met here, and that's good. How do you handle if you get a request for a guild hall that you don't want to train a skill in? So, Zemalf, is there any skills that you've been asked for a guild hall where you don't want them to have that guild hall?
Something like that has probably come up every now and then, but I've usually not bothered with that. But I usually do have doors in the guild halls, and then I guess I could lock the doors if I wouldn't want them to go there, because I think they would still be happy that they have the guild, even that it's behind the locked doors.
That's a really good idea.
This is something I don't remember if I have actually done that, but I was just thinking about that on top of my head.
So they don't get frustrated that they can't go inside the guild.
Yeah, they are just, hey, we have this guild, awesome, and then they do other stuff. They
So
know
it's
it's there.
it's that restaurant that you keep trying to go to that every time you go, oh, it's closed. But it
I-
still sounds so good, so you keep trying.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's it. I have not tested this, so that might lead into something fun.
That
But wouldn't it? I mean, there's the thing under the guilds that just lets members in only. Wouldn't that just do about the same thing, and they'd only trade out amongst themselves?
Well, sometimes you don't want them to. For me, for example, I don't use hunters, but I'll often get a wave of migrants coming where there are enough of them who are hunters, along with people whose highest movable skill or highest skill from the last migrant wave are also hunters, but I don't want to give them a ranger hall. That's the one that I usually get that I don't want, is a ranger hall. I don't want people spending their time socializing and picking up more skills in something, improving a skill that I'm not going to use. I want them to go hang out in a different guild hall. And previously, I have rejected guild halls that I didn't want, but I noticed with this version that they keep on asking. And of course, every time you reject a guild hall, they get an unhappy thought about that. And they keep on asking, and they get a negative thought about it every time you reject. So I'd taken to just ignoring requests for guild halls that I didn't want to provide. But I really like the idea of locking the doors.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, give it to them, but then lock the doors. That sounds like a...
What have I done? what dwarves? It's like, hey, we got a nice new school, university, but we can't go there.
Yeah, closed for refurbishment. That's I'm definitely
Only open on the
that.
second Tuesday of the 5th week of the month.
Yeah. Yeah, I am going to try that and see how that works out for them. That's such a good idea. But yeah, at the moment I would recommend to new players and old alike, don't reject the guild petitions, because they keep on asking and keep on asking and keep on asking. They're like naggy kids in that sense. And every time you say no, they get a negative thought from it.
Yeah, there was even that I have all these guilds. I did forget twice to build an engineer's guild, and then eventually I did it. But kind of actually related to that, it's not the end of the world if you forget it, and you can still build the guild after that, or the guild
Yeah.
hall after that, even if you lose the petition. You kind of lose the happy thought of that being established in time, but you can still do it.
Yeah.
You said there's a lot of advantages. I mean, are there a lot of advantages, I should say, to building it next to their work area? Because you were saying that you were doing that a lot earlier.
Yeah, that's kind of an optimizing thing, and kind of the thought behind that is that when the dwarf actually needs to go to work, they would be at least in theory close to where they need to do that. So you get things done fast when you need them to be done, and then after they have built that, whatever they are building, forging a sword, they can go back to the guild right away, which is again right next to them if they don't need to go to eat or something like that.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I've been more focusing on trying to get different levels in my place to try to have each thing be a theme, and one of the themes is for the guild halls and the temples. So that makes a lot more sense to actually have the guild halls next to where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, but that is also depending a bit how you use the Z levels. Kind of the distance between like a -5 and +5 sea level is a little bit deceptive. Kind of you can be actually really close if you are above or below, kind of compared to going sideways. So that's that's the bad thing. Actually, one question that there was in the chat that about that would the Rangers Guild teach ambush? That reminded me that because there's this, maybe you can show on your screen as you are building, because we have this. If you show from the labor menu, kind of when you are setting up the profiles, that shows kind of the top level thing, and then the skills under that. So just to visualize what kind of how the skills work. So for example, the Rangers Guild, it's a top level guild for all these green things here, for hunting, animal training, animal care, trapping, and things like this. So Rangers Guild would teach kind of all those, but if you want to specifically your dwarves to get good at ambush, you would be better off to build Hunters Guild. Not talking about when the dwarves ask for it, but if you want to build and train them, you would do better with the Hunters Guild. Similarly, if you want to have weaponsmiths and armorsmiths, you would be better off with Weaponsmiths Guild and Armorers Guild separately than Metalsmithing Guild.
But is ambushing a combat skill though, rather than a hunting skill?
That is an interesting question. Actually, in this fort, I have not used hunters, so I can't really verify that at the moment. No.
Just a thought about that. So if I have a look at, let's pick a dwarf. If we have a look at skills. Just wondering if I do have anybody with some ambushing skills. I did get somebody in this fortress who had some ambushing skills. A few of them did as they were coming in. I'm just trying to... I'm pretty sure they're a combat skill. In which case, I think you would need to train them up in the barracks as crossbowmen. You might get some skills there, but if you had somebody arrive at your fortress with ambush skills, and if it's a combat skill, and you give people time to train in a barracks, they should teach each other the combat skills that they have. So if we have a look at Warp Scientist here, Warped has learnt how to bite and kick from somebody else, how to use a shield from somebody else. Warped doesn't have a shield, but she's been watching other people. Let's have a look. Like she doesn't have armor, but she came here with armor skills, and she's been teaching other people how to use armor. She's now a proficient striker as well. Always good to train up your dodgers.
Yeah,
so
actually, kind of a little bit back to that ambushing. That is actually interesting thing. I at least want to check that later if I use hunters a lot, because it's a miscellaneous skill, even that it's related to the. So kind of would that train in a guild? That's an interesting question indeed.
yeah, or is it trained in the barracks?
Yeah.
And I am not sure at all. So I do have somebody in this fortress with ambushing skills, but I can't remember who it is. And they've doesn't look like they've been training other people, whoever they are, because I don't have a bunch of people with ambushing skills.
That did actually kind of little bit to another topic. Kind of I guess with skill like ambush as an example, that's very likely unless it's taught in the guild, it's probably better taught in if the dwarf is actually hunting. So basically doing that thing instead of learning it in a guild. But I did notice that there are differences with different laborers, how fast they learn it.
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of doing it. Because for example, I started with those that we have those elephants and we were training them. I had three dwarves who were training the elephants, and then I had the guild. And the three dwarves who were actually doing the training of the elephants were lesser skilled than the ones who had never talked to elephants. So there's a little bit of a imbalance there, that guilds are a little bit too powerful in some case, kind of at least that as an example.
Yeah. Well, when people are learning by doing, some of those skills, like animal training, they spend an awful lot of time just walking around the place, rather than, like, a lot of the job is the travel time to and from the animal. They're not spending a lot of time actually doing the training. I think with some of the other things, like armor smithing, for example, they spend a lot more time actually doing the thing, or engraving. They spend if you set somebody to do engraving, they're, as long as you keep them doing it, they are spending a lot of time engraving. They're not walking around a lot. But with animal training in particular, they have to, because don't they, when they train with some food, don't they? I can't remember, it's so long since I did animal training. Don't they need some sort of seed or something to train an animal?
I thought they had needed a piece of meat if it's
Yeah, they give some food. I think they prefer meat, at least, than when they are kind of handling wild creatures.
So they've got to go to the kitchen or your food stockpile to pick up the food. Then they go to the animal to train them with the food. Then they go back to the food stockpile to pick up the food. Then go to the next animal to do the training. So for animal training, yeah, there's going to be a lot more moving around compared to some of the others. Of course, with weaponsmithing, it depends on, or armor smithing, something like that, depends on how far away your raw materials are. If your raw materials are very close, then they'll spend less time in picking up the materials and more time in doing the job. So that's the only thing I know from because the animal training I do is usually domesticated animals, training them up to be war creatures. And I know they don't need any food to train a domestic animal to be a war animal, but they're still traveling around to wherever the animal is. So yeah, I haven't skilled up my animal trainers very much at all because of that. Yeah, having a food stockpile with only the food the training requires near your animals would help to speed that up indeed. Yeah. And Thundy in chat says, what effect does the level of the Guildhall have? So as far as I'm aware, and if either of you two know differently, then correct me. I don't...
I'm going to take a while, I guess, to say that I don't.
Yeah. I don't believe that the level of the Guildhall has an effect on the quality of the skills or the rapidity of the teaching or anything. It just has an effect on the happiness of your dwarfs. So if they have requested a better guild, and I think this is a guild hall here. Yeah, there's my weaponsmith's guild. They wanted a grand guild hall. This started off as just a patch in the corridor. So yeah, this was because it was one of my first ones. I just picked a spot in a corridor somewhere and said, right, you're now the weaponsmith's guild. And then eventually they said, no, we want a proper guild. So I dug them out a room. And a basic guild hall needs, I think it's 2,000 value points. Is that right, Zemalf? Is it 2,000 for a basic guild hall?
At least it used to be. I'm just thinking that is it actually
remember. Or has it gone up?
Is it actually now 5,000 and 10,000 the levels in Steam version?
It might be.
Either that or 2,000 and 10,000.
Pierce said in chat
also to add to
2,000
yeah,
still.
Okay, yeah. But just to add to that kind of that's I don't know any. It's only for the value for the requirement to become a grand guild hall for the requirement, but no effect on the learning.
Yep. Chat are confirming it's 2,000 to make a basic guild hall. So you start, when you put it down at the beginning, it's just counted as a meeting hall. When you put some value into the room, so once the room value is at 2,000, then it will become a guild hall. And then once it's 10,000, it becomes a grand guild hall. And to raise the value, a lot of the value raising is done just by making a room big. So this room here, and it's smoothed and engraved. I mean, there is a bit of tetrahedrite in the wall, which makes it a little bit more valuable than rock, a bit of limonite. Oh, there's a tiger eye cluster in the corner. That would have helped as well. Smoothed and engraved. If you want to raise the value, if you've got a slightly smaller room and you want to raise the value more, then constructed floors and constructed walls are usually more valuable. So you dig it out, you build it and then engrave it rather than smoothing the wall. So how can you tell the value of a room? For a guild hall and a temple, you can tell just by looking, and it tells you. Let me just find another guild hall around the place.
By looking, you mean hitting the little magnifying glass on the meeting plate.
So my farmer's guild hall was here apparently. So hit the little magnifying glass. So this is just a basic guild hall. If they ask me for a grand guild hall, then which they probably won't do in this temple because I'm not training up more and more of them. But because I've already smoothed and engraved this room and I don't want to give them more room, then putting some statues in here, or maybe one of the spare artifact weapons I've got, I could just put a weapon trap down in the room. It's that a single weapon trap or a couple of nice statues should bring this room up to the 10,000 that they'd require if they asked for a grand guild hall. But for how that affects the training of the dwarfs, it doesn't matter. Just a space in a corridor is as good at training the dwarfs as a big fancy room. So what does affect how fast your dwarf skill up is how good the people demonstrating the skills are. So if you, what I do when I embark, I make sure that I've got somebody in my initial 7 dwarfs that has some weaponsmithing skills, because that's the skill that I like to train at the start, is weaponsmithing. That's where I want all of my strange moods. So I start with somebody with, it's got to be at least novice, but because getting from 0 to novice is the difficult bit. If you don't have anybody with any skills at all, then nobody can do a demonstration. If, for example, I wanted to put down a new Guildhall, that, let's just put a new Guildhall there, and I'm going to put down a new Guildhall for, let's see, what do I not have? I'm gonna guess that I don't have any strand extractors in this fortress. And let's say that I wanted to train up a bunch of people to do strand extraction. Putting down a Guildhall isn't going to help because nobody's got any skills. So they might go and socialise there, but it's only when they run demonstrations that the skills improve. So what I would need to do is open that up to all visitors and hope that at some point we will get a visitor turn up to come and visit our renowned strand extractor Guildhall, and that one of them would have the basics. As long as they've got novice skills, they just need some skills and to hang around long enough to do a demonstration of what they know. And somebody else will then pick up a little bit of skill. And as soon as you've got somebody who's at novice level skill, then they'll start training everybody else. And they'll learn a bit from training. Other people will then start training them. And they will skill each other up. And their skills will become better than they started with by learning from each other. So yeah, you need at least novice skills to start the training. Or you can open up to all visitors and see if you can get a visitor come to start training everybody. But as soon as you've got one person, it's amazing how fast those skills start spreading around your fortress. Having leader or teacher isn't a requirement. I believe that having the teacher skill improves the speed of training, but the absolute requirement is that they have at least novice level skills in the skill, or that you've got at least one person who has time to go to the Guildhall to show other people. Once you've got that, then the skills will start to spread. Yeah, and the same applies to good student skill as well. If they've got some student skills, then they will learn faster. Let's just delete that Guildhall before I leave it there. Because I've got lots of people that have learnt in a Guildhall, let's see if TDC, let's just have a look at your skills. You're a proficient weaponsmith, so you're now a professional student. So TDC didn't come here with any student skills as far as I'm aware. Let's have a look. That's a dwarven child. Let's go find a few more dwarfs. They're usually hanging around in a tavern or a guildhall if I haven't given them anything to do. Let's have a look at you. So if we have a look at your skills, you're a legendary weaponsmith. And your other skills, you're a great student. What about you? Legendary weaponsmith and a great student. So yeah, they've also been learning how to become a student. So when they go to a guild hall and they start teaching each other how to do things, the people who are teaching will get a happy thought from that, and the people who are learning the skill will also get a happy thought from that as well. They like improving their skills. So let's have a look at your thoughts. Have you remembered anything recently about learning a new skill? You've spent a lot of time in the barracks, actually. We'll be covering barracks on a different day when we look at military, but the barracks act very much like a guild hall for your military. No, he's been very much just working on teaching and watching stuff in the barracks rather than the guild halls. But any other questions on guild halls before we move on to temples and taverns, or anything to add? And I'm wondering, Pakratt, do you fancy giving us a tour of your fortress?
Sure. I'd be happy to do that.
Anything to add about guild halls, Zemalf?
Well, I've already learned so much from what you guys have been talking about today that I don't have anything to add for anyone else to learn yet. So
yeah, I think from guild halls we covered them pretty well, and kind of if you have any questions when you are showing us your fort as well, you can do that as a segue into the taverns and other things.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to my world.
One second. I'll just pick up your. Oops. Let me just shrink this over here. That's still Zemalf's fortress. Stop watching Zemalf's and start watching Pakratt's. There we go. Bring this over here. Are you on the world screen at the moment, Pakratt?
I'm at the world screen at the moment,
cool. Yeah. Right. Just wanted to make sure I had the right one. Okay, there we go. This is Pakratt's world.
So I decided I did 2 smaller worlds before I did this one, so I'm still pretty new at this. And I decided for my next one that I was going to try out a volcano because I've heard good things about that. And the other one that I found was on an island, and I decided to go with that one. So welcome to the volcano island that we got for Complex Bridge.
It's a volcano is every dwarf stream.
Yeah, and it does lead to a lot of... I mean, this is basically easy mode. I know it has been easy mode for me for the game since I basically am cut off from the rest of the world, so I don't get attacked by anything outside of were-koalas. So I'm not too concerned about a lot of attacks. And I know, but for my third one, I wanted to get used to the other mechanics of the game, so I've been doing a lot of that type of stuff lately. So if we go down here, speaking of were-koala, that's the first guy right there. He didn't make it. So I just been working on just the basics. So we start with the name of the complex bridge. I got a double bridge here to get into the place. I'm trying to work on my traps to get into there. I mean, we're on year like 6 or something like that. I'm not even really entirely sure, and nothing's attacking the place, so I have plenty of time to try to experiment and try to figure out how to traps and stuff like that work. And got the area dug out here where I'm going to start moving the animals into eventually. Got a nice barracks over here. I've actually been working pretty hard on trying to get the organization of having rotating people for this, having them do the training and do the patrols. Even though there's not a lot of threat, I want to get used to the idea of it. So I actually have 5 groups in here that are equally divided amongst that. That, by the way, was a huge panic when I found out that it's divided up by months, and when I finally went through and did all the prep for this, I did the scheduling for this and made 5 different schedules and put it on the 5 different people, and found out that they're all actually trying to work off of one schedule. That the little things in this game really do blow your mind sometimes. So
Yeah.
that one got me. That one really got me. So this is what I've got going for that so far. If you notice over here, I've also discovered the idea of the minecart drop to where you want it to go thing. I've actually got this on multiple levels. I kind of freaked out, Sal, when you saw my place, because I was having an issue with them doing something, and she looked at my place and saw all they were doing is moving stone after stone after stone.
Yeah.
Because I have this on multiple levels. Like every 10 levels, I have one of these set up to take it down to the 3 areas where you got to go for the stone. But I've also it's very neat and missing stone, which is okay. I just started this guy.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count. But got the little area over here for the hospital. Trying to figure out this one. I just found out from Sal that that's probably not the best plan, because you want to have them segregated in case they are infected with the were-koala. So
well, you've got walls there, so at least you can wall off the beds if they're brought down here.
That's true. I just wanted to make it look pretty in the first place, but that's actually not a bad thing. Oh, and you'll notice that as I go through this, with the exception of the barracks, because I figure that they would be doing things a little bit more neatly and tidily. I'm trying to make this fortress be where they go down, they find gems, they find an ore. They'd spread it out and dig out that tunnel, and then they build their fortress off of those tunnels. So that's kind of the theme that I've been going with a lot of the stuff that I've been doing for this, with the exception of the barracks, because I figure that that's them. You got to dig out here for the only flux that we have. So, and also, as you're going down, you'll see a lot of mist going down the main path, because I was experimenting with the misting. I've seen the mist machines that people have been using, but I'm kind of worried. First of all, there's no water here. There's only an aquifer, and it's one tiny aquifer that I've been able to use for a lot of things, but I don't think it's going to be able to push one. I don't think it's going to be strong enough to push two big water wheels. I was actually trying to describe what a water wheel is, because I couldn't remember the name, and I came up with a name in the middle of the word. That's so sad. So instead of doing a water wheel action, I actually found out that it reduces its speed through the corners. So I just have a reduced corner, a corner reduction from the main source to just get it to go flow slow enough to go down the whole way down. So that's my mister. It's a direct flow. It's just a direct flow that's slowed down a lot.
Does it drain somewhere, or does it?
Oh yeah, it drains at the bottom.
All right, cool.
If you go down to the bottom here, it does drain down here, which I didn't find out until I didn't. It makes sense that it just flows down the stairs without any issue, kind of. If you don't like think too much about it, but I was wondering why I was getting so much water at the bottom here, and I started panicking and throwing in drains until I realized just to add more stairs. So that was a thing that I had to learn on my own. Okay, see if I can get back up here again. And I like I said, I've been doing more themes per level. Like this is going to be the wood level. It's like still in the positive elevations, or this is where all the carpentry is being done, and I'm trying to get the people that are doing it to have their houses next to where they're doing it.
Yeah.
I've also not been doing as much engraving as everything else, because I'm trying to get people to focus more on the labors for like the engravers and the stone cutters to get really good at getting fast at those one things. So, and since they're part of the same task and they're never stop smoothing, they haven't done a whole lot of engraving yet. So, but I have been putting at least one engraving in the front of every person's house to be like their entranceway. I considered going in and specifying the engraving for each entryway to be the engraving of the person living there. But two things with that. One, that is not an easy thing to find everyone's name. That's a pain and a half. And two, what if I move them?
Yeah, true.
So I figured that might be some issues, because I've been moving them around as I figure out their skills and stuff like that. So, I'm still learning this, of course. So.
Well, what you could do instead of putting an engraving of them is make a statue of them and have the statue in their room.
That's not a bad idea. If they ever stop making cabinets, then I can get them to start making statues. Someday.
It's completely unnecessary, but then a huge amount of
Yeah, but
Dwarf Fortress is about
is
doing
completely
unnecessary
unnecessary.
things.
Unnecessary is not something you need to worry about in Dwarf Fortress.
Indeed.
You're not doing anything necessary.
And this is a good thing about, like you were saying, this is easy mode, but it's true that when you choose your embark, you're choosing how easy or difficult the raids are going to be, but it doesn't. That doesn't reflect how easy or hard your game is going to be. That depends on you and how you make it. So, yeah.
Like, I didn't break into the caverns until I was ready to break into the caverns. And even then, there's one trap door going that they are not getting through, and that's it. There's no path down there. And I only did that to try to get the moss, which, interestingly enough, before I go into... if you see the map up in the upper right corner, that gives you a good idea of the way I've been trying to do
Yeah.
Actually,
that's pretty cool.
Let's see if I can do this.
Yeah, I like this. I like this fort a lot. I like the organic style and kind of your idea of building as you go. It's really cool.
Yeah, and actually, I want to take this and go and expand on the idea further if and when I go into another fortress, which is yes at some point. Instead of just doing one level, I actually want to take it and make it so that levels don't just stay on one level, so that they go up and down.
Yeah.
There's no reason that the vein is stuck in one level.
So
if the vein didn't, then they shouldn't. So I really think that's something I'm going to try and do next time, because it's going to make it look a lot more natural. Like, if this was my initial dormitory, and I think it would have been really cool if the initial dormitory went into the second and the third by just having there be a few of these levels that went up. Unfortunately, I didn't think about it at the time, but that's my plan for the next time. So,
yeah.
Let's see if I can do this. This is my first time zooming, by the way. I've never even bothered trying.
What's that nice yellowy greeny rock you've got there? That's pretty.
Olivine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that'd be olivine. Oh, by the way, I just found aluminum for the first time in this area. The good thing about being in a volcano, you find everything, except for the basics. There's no coal. There's not a lick of coal in this island. There's no sand, and there's no clay. So that's been interesting. But before we were talking about difficulty, but one of the things that I found interesting, because like every fortress is a little bit different. Let me go down to the bottom level over here real quick. Not that bottom level. That's too bottom of a level. This is the first time I'd encountered a first level with no moss.
Oh,
so this is a no moss level. So and I tried reading up on this, because I may have looked ahead of time before I dug into it, but I tried reading up on it, and they say that everything in the wiki says as soon as you dig into the first level, moss will grow on the surface. What they don't say in the wiki is
sometimes it
if
doesn't.
There's moss.
Yeah.
If there's no moss, it doesn't. I mean, I thought that it wouldn't matter if there was moss or not. It's just like a condition that needs to be met. So I was wrong. So everything I'm growing on the surface is from the second level that I've had to dig into later on. All right, so yeah, that's the idea here. And the second area I've got up here, that's the second branching off area. This is the one that I'm working on now, as you can tell, because they're smoothing.
Yep.
They're always smoothing, and you could also the same with all the rooms. I try to make the rooms fit the shape that the stone
that's so cool.
Because there's no reason. I mean, one of the things this entirely came about because while I've watched one or two people, one of the things that I always see people doing is making circles, making not boxes.
Yeah.
Except for rooms. For some reason, the rooms were always boxes. As far as I'm concerned, if you're going to go with the idea of not making things circle or not making everything square, why make them anything? They should just the dwarf. When I think of dwarves, I think of dwarves being more utility about stuff like that. They're just going to make the rooms to make the rooms, and they're going to make them fit, and they're going to make them their own afterwards. And the big glory-filled hallways of doom would come after they've established themselves and dug out the place. So that's my theory of how I've been doing it. So as far as the guild halls go, that would be, I think it's went too high. I actually went above them. This is my guild area. It's very simple. All I've been doing is I dug them out ahead of time, and I smoothed out the areas, and I have them ready to become guild halls. That's all that I've done. I've not I didn't know the benefits of that. I'm also not clear on what like furniture or stuff needed to be added to it. That's why they all have chests for no particular reason, because I didn't know if they needed chests.
Mm.
So I've been trying to get, because they all I understand what the guild halls are for now, but even then they feel so empty and so blank. There's no they don't seem to need tables or chairs or anything to work.
Yeah. The just an empty room will do. For a guild hall, they won't use any of the furniture in there. But the value of the guild hall will become important later. But yeah, for a guild hall, you don't need anything in there at all. There's nothing is functional inside a guild hall.
I would love to see if at some point they make the table so that they can sit across from each other and be able to like communicate that way. But
yeah,
I know without fighting over what's on the table.
I'm just looking.
And that's my temple area is right across the way, and I've done similar.
Your meeting rooms that you've got there ready to be guild halls. If you don't want them to socialize in there, if you click on one of those zones that you've got for an unused, what you can do, if it's like that's a guild hall, that's you want to keep that guild hall. It's only a meeting place at the moment, so you are going to need to engrave that to build the value to be a proper guild hall. Do you see that?
So this doesn't count as a guild hall because it's not at 2,000. I did not know that. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, you've agreed to build a guild hall, so you'll need to increase the value of that. Click on one of the others.
All of these are assigned guild halls. These
are
they're
all
that
assigned.
Don't have a guild hall. Yeah, once they ask for it, then I make it a guild hall.
I see. Right, because what you could do is assign it as a meeting place to start with, and then just pause it. So the on the if you click on one of the guild halls you've already got. There's a pause button. That switches it off. So if you did want to set it up in advance and say, right, you're a guild hall now, or you're a meeting area, but I don't want anyone to use it yet, you can assign it if you wanted to. There's no good reason to do it, but if you wanted to, you can set it up like that and then pause it so they don't use it. I think that would upset them if they asked for a guild hall and you made it and then paused it. I don't think that would. I think they would see that as you removing a guild hall from them, compared to the locking doors idea we were talking about before. Yeah. If someone comes and asks for a guild hall that you don't actually want to support the training in.
Yeah, depending on what you guys say for what I'm doing with the temples, these might become temples later on. I'm going to move all the guild halls more closer to the areas that they're in. So, and then I might as well just go ahead and finish up the small dormitory here that was just like initial for when they were building a place. The move from the top of the volcano down to here was interesting. So, you can see here I was going to make a Mr. area, but I couldn't. I just couldn't justify trying to get the water wheel to work right. And got area where all the cooking is being done over here, and I've like I've been saying, I've been trying to keep the guys that work in the area nearby. So you got the performers here, and I did not know that they dug out his wall. Oh, that poor tavern keeper. That is the worst place to have an open spot. I mean, could you imagine being a tavern keeper and you just hear it when you're sleeping? Oh, that poor man. Oh, we got it. Oh, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. There must have been some gems there at some point. Let's just go ahead and fix that right up for you. Okay, there. All right. That's an oops. And I just expanded this thing out, too. I know that you can set up you wanted to give a good space for them to like get together. You want to, and you can set up a dormitory nearby for people that are visiting. And I've also heard that you want to have both a tavern and an inn, so I've set up both of those things.
A dining room.
And try to keep all the food area. Yeah, a dining room and a tavern.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll get back to that because we're going to get to that later on. I know that. So
yeah.
And then you got the more craft dwarves areas are down here, and if we go down to stone, I think is we went past the gems. Stone would be at 60, and I'd still just love seeing that right there. I love that. I mean, I know they leave it in the game because there's basically no in-game solution for that problem, but I still love seeing that.
All
that
those
is
stones
so
in one
beautiful
place.
to see. Yeah, that is still kind of nice to see. And I've been trying to work a lot on trying to get this all converted into blocks too. So they got one guy who's only doing that. They never make enough blocks.
Yeah.
Is that like a thing they just can't make enough blocks?
The only
Yeah, they
way
just
I
don't.
can keep up with my block demand is by putting down lots of stoneworkers.
Yeah, I haven't done that. I've been trying to let them focus on getting a few people actually good at it, so I haven't put down a lot. So
Yeah.
Yeah, the same thing if we just skip down to here, that's where all the metalsmithing is being done. I've been trying to get them to focus on, hi guy. Try to focus on, only having each one of these do 1 or 2 different ores.
Yeah.
And then having them do the steel over here. They're still trying to make enough steel to fulfill the army's requirements. So still working on that. And then finally, just got a little tomb area that I've been trying to start up over here. So base of fortress, still learning a lot of the stuff,
But looking
I
good.
think it's looking pretty good
Indeed.
so far. All right. So, what did I do wrong?
No, I think you're doing really good. And
There's no right or wrong in Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no
Oh,
way.
there so is.
There's your way and learning from it.
It's always right and wrong to the individual person, but yes.
Yeah, indeed.
I've been playing Dwarf Fortress for 15 years, and looking at your fortress, I got ideas. I haven't been doing that kind of that dynamic, let's say, fractal style of going with the veins. I think that's a cool idea. So I will do that at some point.
You can look at it as, I mean, on the one hand, a lot of people think of dwarves and they think of like Lord of the Rings and they think of the giant hallways and all the stuff that they're doing there, but you can also think of how they were starting, and that's how they end. You got to think of how they start, and I think that they would start more like a gnome, where they're just trying to go through and just digging out everything and trying to get everything going. And
Yeah.
they're so focused on the stone and the ore and the gems. I really think they'd be focusing on just getting that dug out first. And you know what? You live there.
Yeah,
That's
indeed.
your spot. Just dig him a hole.
And
So I think, yeah.
the feedback from chat is it's a wonderful fortress, honestly.
Well, thank you, Chad. We've been working pretty hard on it. So
Yeah, indeed. It's looking pretty good, Pakratt. Especially for only your 3rd fortress. Because every time you generate a fortress, every time you play a new fortress, it gives you ideas for your future fortresses. So your fortresses will develop over time. And for a 3rd fortress, this is pretty good.
And I already said what I want to do for the whole thing that I just said for the next fortress. So yeah, there's already going to be some. I already have plans for that. By the way, I know it has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I still love how this is a thing. That the best way you can basically give them the exercising rooms.
Yeah, building their strength by making them
Pumping
operate
iron,
pumps.
literally.
Yeah.
Anyone doesn't know that if you assign your military on their off hours to be pump operators, and then pumps that go nowhere, they get stronger. So that's a thing.
They do. Another way to train strength, by the way, is getting them mining. Mining is another job that trains strength.
Well, then I got 5 really strong guys who've been digging a lot of ore. That's all they've done. So you saw they dig a lot.
Yeah, indeed. All right, I'm going to switch back to my fortress, and we'll talk about temples and taverns. Let's just move this off screen. Right. So back into my fortress. Let's talk a little bit about temples. Don't know where my temple is. It will be a hole in the ground somewhere. Let's see. So I've got 1 temple at the moment. And it looks like it's this one here. Yes. So that's an animal training area. It doesn't have to have dogs and an animal training area. I just needed a space to put my animals. And I put them in the temple.
Sure. That's so logical.
I am digging out another area for the dogs. But for the moment, yeah, I just wanted to... And I wanted to split up the male and female dogs a bit as well. Because I've got quite a lot of dogs now. Yeah, so this is a citizens only temple because I didn't want other people coming to my fortress. I wanted to keep this fortress isolated for a little while. Mainly because I am using this fortress for the Kit Fox stream, and I'm doing all kinds of strange things in it, like setting up the minecart model railway that we've got upstairs, and the other bizarre thing, giant pump stacks and stuff. So I didn't want to have distractions in this fortress. I'm keeping my population below 50 so that we don't get a mayor. That way I'm not getting any demands. The visitors are not invited to this fortress, so I haven't got visitors to worry about. I haven't had a weirbeast because we're not bringing visitors in, so they're not coming that way, and the population's low, so it's not causing too much noise in the area. We're not attracting things. So my temple is citizens only. It defaults to all visitors when you place down a temple, and you place down a temple just like a guild hall. It's a meeting area, and then you click on new temple, and then it'll ask you which deity. So let's start with putting down a new temple in a corridor somewhere. And this is how this temple started. Within the first year of my dwarfs arriving, as soon as I was able to spare some labour, so I put down my weaponsmith's guild and I put down my temple at about the same time, and it was just some space somewhere. Accept that, and then add new temple, and I go for no specific deity. That way everybody can go and pray there. Now there's been a change with version 50, because it used to be that would satisfy everybody. That's all you'd need, is just that one temple, and that would satisfy everybody until you happen to get at least 10 people who were part of a particular sect, and then you'd have to set up a temple for that particular sect. Now, in this fortress, there isn't a bunch of people belonging to the same sect. So there's been no demands for additional temples. So I would have previously just left this temple as it was, but in this fortress I am going to start putting down more temples, and that is because, so I'm going to make this temple, let's see, do we have, which one? Now I've got 20 worshippers of Kolad, the unholy demon of death and murder. I'm going to make that a temple, especially for, I'm going to leave it there for now because I'll give them a permanent temple for it. Yeah, I'm going to do that, and that's because if we have a look at some of our dwarfs that are praying at the moment, what we might find is that they'll have thoughts about, here we go. She felt wonder, remembering incompletely performing the rites of the denomination of terrors in an undedicated temple. So now, if you put down temples to all of your deities, they can complete the rites. So they're still happy about being able to pray, but they don't get the bigger boost from being able to complete the rites. So that's new, and this has only come out with the Steam release, like the latest version. Yeah, incompletely performing the rites of the denomination of terrors. So there's now a reason to have a temple for at least your main gods. As you can see, it's always a positive thought, even though it's incompletely performed. And Haunted Putty here has been doing a lot of praying to the denomination, to that particular god. But yeah, never been able to complete the rites to the denomination of terrors. And again, but still positive thoughts. So even having an undedicated temple is giving her positive thoughts the whole time. But yes, having dedicated temples and that little gap in the hall there, that'll do. That'll give them a dedicated temple. And then they should start completing the rites there. Is there any way to convert dwarfs? I've heard rumours of people putting down temples to one specific god and opening it up to all visitors and having that as the only temple. Now, whether or not that works, I don't know. I've never tried it. It's not something that I've seen a need for in the past. But I think if you had no specific deity and then a temple to... Let me just make sure that's no visitors. Yeah. No visitors. Citizens only. It should... I mean, that should satisfy them. At least the majority of the people will... like 20 of my dwarfs, 20 of the 25... should go and complete the rites in that temple there in the hall. And eventually I might even dig out a room and give them a proper room just for the looks of it. Something to be aware of in a temple: if you get a request to make a bigger temple and appoint a priest. So let's have a look at our temple. At the moment it's only a shrine. If somebody says they want a temple, then you have to increase the value of the room. If you decide to do that using furniture rather than the size of the room and engravings and things, one thing to be very cautious of is putting down statues. Statues in temples are a recipe for fun and disaster, because if you've got a statue in a temple and a dwarf has a bad mood, not like a strange mood, but has a tantrum inside a temple, they have a tendency to knock over statues. And if they knock over a statue in a temple, that's seen by the deity as profaning that deity. And then they are likely to become cursed. So it's not a guarantee. I think it's something like 80% chance, an 80 or 90% chance that they'll get cursed if they knock over a statue. And then there's a 50-50 chance that they'll be cursed to be either a werebeast or a vampire.
Oh, lovely.
So you'll see, certainly with a lot of experienced players, there'll be either a lack of or a proliferation of statues in temples, depending on what you're aiming for. So I don't want vampires or werebeasts in this fortress. So no statues in my temples.
Is it possible to set up the statues in a way where they can't reach them?
Yeah, you can. I don't know whether or not it would still... Yeah, it would do. I don't know whether or not it would count to the value of the room, though. Or whether it would count as a separate room if you put it behind bars or... Like, they can't break fortifications. If you put it behind something like bars, then... Because you can construct bars. Like vertical bars. I'm not sure if it would still count as the same room. And they can break the bars, but at least if they break the bars, that might satisfy their requirement to break a thing rather than just toppling the statue. If you put it behind windows, then I'm pretty sure that makes it into a separate room and wouldn't count towards the temple value. I'm not sure. Unless Zemalf's done it, or has anybody else done it in chat?
I have not done that. I've kind of used statues in the temples as that kind of potential for fun later on, as you mentioned. I haven't kind of on purpose tried to get myself vampires, but it's sometimes fun that happens like that for stories.
The suggestion is that because the zones can overlap multiple rooms, that it would work. So for a bit of science, this temple at the moment, it's a shrine, it's worth 176. If I repaint the zone and add a bit over here. Okay, we'll accept that. So that's now an extension of this temple. If I... Hang on. I didn't... Or was that the animal training zone? No, that's right.
Well, that's what you get for training your animals in the temple.
There we go. Yeah, it's now worth 200 because it's a bigger room. So it should be that if that was boxed off, if that was an inaccessible area full of statues, that it would keep the statues safe from tantruming dwarfs, and it would still count towards the temple value. So yeah, you could. Another thought in chat is that you could have multiple Z levels and put down the statues beyond reach. Like you could have the statues in alcoves on a level above and have a little overhang so that people can't actually climb up to topple the statue. So yeah, vertical space counts for a temple, yeah. It would only count, because I don't think the airspace would count, but you could have floor spaces across multiple Z levels. So I could cut out more temple down here and have a staircase that leads down and have a 2-level temple. We could do it that way.
There is actually maybe something you could show just as an example, because for most of the zones we are talking about, you can have multiple places, multiple levels for them.
Yeah.
So for example, you can have a multi-level, but if you do that, you do need a zone on those other levels, and then you add it to the existing temple or guild or tavern.
So if you select the temple or guild hall or tavern, and then, or for that matter, bedroom or any of the zones, you can make that zone stretch across multiple Z levels. So I can only go down one here. I'm going to now repaint the zone to include... Oh no, I can't.
Yeah, actually, what
so
you need to do,
what
you need to do is create a new meeting area and then add that
to the existing one.
Yep.
Yeah, meeting area. So we'll put it there, accept, and then add that to the existing.
And then
one.
there's the list of existing things down there.
Okay, so there we go. That is now part of the temple above. Aha, good job you asked me to do that because I hadn't done it.
As I guess in this case, kind of in most cases, I think you would want them to be like somewhat concentrated because they get like benefit, for example, in tavern socializing with each other instead of spreading them across multiple levels. But if you, for example, I made actually in this one I don't have visitors, my current fort, but in previous one I made this kind of roadside inn of our fort. So we had a tavern, and then on the second level we had rooms and additional space. So and they were all part of the same tavern zone.
Yeah. In fact, let's have a chat about taverns. Now, my fortress, I'm just going to remove that little spot there, because that's actually going to be a bedroom in the future. And I'll just make sure I didn't remove the temple there. No, I didn't. I might remove that little spot. Uh-oh. No, that has removed. Oh, I needed to repaint that. Okay. I best fix that. Right, so the temple zone was across there. Except add it to my existing temple. And I'll just trim back the edges. There we go. Yeah, so if you accidentally delete your temple like that, you can add it back to the existing... The existing temple still lives in the list, so you can just add it back like that. Yeah, so taverns. I think we've pretty much covered temples. Oh, if you've got a 10 by 10 space in a temple, they'll often dance in there, dance and perform stuff, so... It is useful to put down a chest with some musical instruments. They'll watch performances and they will perform in there. But bear in mind that if they're doing that, they're not praying. So it can, if they've got the need to pray, it can distract them from doing the prayers. If you've got musical instruments and a performer. But it seems to be a good thing to have a performer in your temple. I've seen lots of happy thoughts from performers in temples.
Yeah, I think that's maybe just staying a little bit on the temples. Kind of, I think with, and also because we are moving into taverns, I think in temples, you need to assign a performer for someone to perform in that temple. They will not kind of do that on their own like they do in the tavern. They recite the poetry and stuff in the tavern.
Yeah.
I think in the temple you need to assign a performer, and then in case this would be one of those yellow ones, the sects or that, then there would also be assigning a priest for that. For that.
They would ask for a priest to be assigned to satisfy the mandate. I have noticed that there's been performances in temples where I've had external visitors come and act as performers in temples, even though I didn't assign a performer. But yeah, I think you're right. If we don't assign a performer, then our dwarfs won't perform there.
Yeah. I think one thing from there as well as Pakratt, before you, I think you talked about the guild, that they looked empty and you added chests in there. So of course you can do that for decoration. But as for example for the temple and as we go into taverns, when you look at the zone that actually shows the furniture it requires or benefits from. So for example in the temple it is listing the number of chests. And in the case of chests, that's where the instruments are stored. And in the case of taverns, there's also ghost goblets. But so it's basically...
I put taverns in my guild. I put chests in my guilds and not in my temples, and kind of got it backwards. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, if you look at the guild, there's nothing listed there because it doesn't require anything.
I see that now.
Yeah. And also one other thing here. I don't remember the exact measurements, but you shall have their 8x8 dance floor, and it is showing as white. If you don't have the minimum, which I think is that you need at least 5.
I think it's 5x5 is the minimum.
Yeah, so you basically need like 5 per side, because for example in my temple, I added a waterfall into the middle, so then I have grates in the middle of the temple, and those don't count as a dance floor. So my current temple actually went from 11x11 to 4x7 because it kind of the shape, and it's actually listed as yellow because there's no 5 tiles, and it's not a valid dance floor at the moment. Poor dwarves, they can
and
dance.
The maximum dance floor to get all of the dances is 10x10. So if you have a 10 by 10 room, then they can do all of the dances. Because there's one dance that they do where they stand in a big square, and it's a 10 by 10 square. If you've got enough dwarfs, you'll see them all standing 10 to one side. But that takes 38 dwarfs. 38 dwarfs all dancing at once will stand in a 10 by 10 square. It's really quite a sight to see. I've only seen it once. But yeah, that's a thing for sure. Something about about taverns. Now that we're moving into taverns, they socialise in taverns. They don't actually drink there. And they don't eat in taverns either, so you don't need tables and chairs.
Really?
Yeah. Think of it as like somewhere where they go to socialise. It's like a social club for them. So they will drink in a tavern if you have a tavern keeper. But it's a place they go to socialise rather than go to drink. So yeah, it's more of a dance hall indeed. Yeah, good description.
That is one thing that's kind of one of those things that's kind of many people get wrong, so to speak. Even that we talked about that there's no wrong or right way of playing. Playing, but in these, the dance floor is the most important thing about tavern. Everything else is extra.
Indeed. And you can't overlay a dining room and a tavern because you won't get the happy moods from them eating in the... Well, if you overlay a tavern and a dining room, then there's a really strong debuff on the room values for your dining room. So they don't get the happy thoughts from eating in a legendary dining room. If I go to my dining room...
Yeah, I think while you are looking for that, kind of trying to clarify that, kind of, yes, you can put tables and chairs in the tavern. The dwarves will eat there because there's a table and a chair, but they get all the, let's say, benefits with happiness and that boost if there's an actual dining hall and they whenever possible eat there.
Yeah. So if I have a look at a dwarf of mine, there's a strong chance, because there's not many chairs anywhere else in the fortress, they should have had some happy thoughts from eating in the dining room. Yeah, so this guy is blissful. This girl is blissful, remembering dining in a legendary dining room. Now, if I overlaid a tavern and a dining room, then it's going to reduce the value of the dining room. It'd no longer be legendary. So having them separate is a good thing. If you've got tables and chairs in your tavern, then they've got somewhere else they can go eat. I try to restrict the numbers of tables and chairs that I've got in my fortress to force them to go to the dining room to eat. Drinking, they can drink anywhere. Doesn't matter about drinking. They don't drink in a dining room. They only eat in a dining room. They will drink wherever the barrel is. They don't sit down to drink either. So when they're thirsty, they go and grab a mug, and they haul the mug to a barrel of alcohol. Then they have a drink, and then they drop the mug. Then somebody else will come and find a mug, go to the barrel, take a drink, and drop the mug. They don't go and look for a chair. So they'll drink wherever, and they don't get any buffs or debuffs about where they're drinking as long as they've got a mug. That's the important thing. So you can make a tavern out of a dining room without reducing any value and still get the thoughts. If you overlay the two zones, it reduces the value of your dining room. So it ceases to become legendary unless it's really large. Yeah. So it's one zone, not two. Ooh, okay. We'll put a.
No. Actually, there's something that was changed in the 50.x to the compared to the old versions. In Steam version, we have a dining hall zone separately, and then taverns are created from meeting area.
So now, if you overlay them, it reduces the value of the dining hall. Am I right, or I'm questioning myself now? Let me just check. So if I go up to my dining room.
No, actually, sorry, I was totally incorrect. You can actually paint a dining hall zone and turn that zone into more or less anything. You can turn a dining hall into Guildhall. I haven't actually touched the dining hall settings ever before this in Steam version, but yeah, you can turn dining hall into anything. This brings me ideas. I don't know what it does.
Part of the tavern.
you can have a library with a cool dining hall.
Oh. So it's both dining. So it's both a dining hall and
so I
tavern.
think hidden inside the dining hall zone is a meeting zone that has automatic type into being a dining hall.
Yeah. So what I was talking about, how it doesn't work, what you don't want to do is to overlap the zones. So you don't want to put down a new meeting area and then say that meeting area is a new tavern. The red there to say this is this dining hall and this new meeting area, this new tavern overlap, that's a bad thing.
I somehow like the idea of turning my dining hall as a part of the hospital, and then they are doing the surgeries on the next table when someone is eating.
Yeah, this is giving me ideas, indeed. So having a tavern, I mean, you still need to get your dining area. You still want to make sure you've got your dance area, of course. Interesting. Okay, that's given me thoughts. Yeah, that'll come in particularly handy for the library, because that was always a big problem, putting down tables and chairs in the library so that they can write books. But then they'd use that as a dining hall because it's... they'd use it as a dining hall because there's tables and chairs there, and then they wouldn't get the dining hall buff. But I can have a dining hall library.
Huh.
I think I'll be doing that. We'll be talking about libraries and book producing in one of the future streams.
That's what I'm going to need to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely try that out before then, so that I can say, hey, look, we've got a dining hall library. That's a solution to a previous problem. Aha. Bookworms will show up and eat the books.
There was actually a good comment on the tavern, as you have that screen open. With the rented rooms, as when you have the room, you have it's kind of a tavern, and when you start adding bedrooms to it, it becomes more of an inn, and then visitors can rent the room. But as it was pointed out in the chat, I think it's at the moment bugged. I haven't had the visitors actually rent a room in this version, but that's how it should work.
How it works.
That you add bedrooms in it.
Do you have any linked rooms in your fortress, Zemalf?
At the moment, no, because this fortress actually doesn't have a visitors.
Right, yeah, same with me here. Pakratt, do you have any linked rented rooms by any chance?
Linked rented rooms? Well, the only thing I've done is I've linked the dormitory to the tavern. That's the only thing I've known about.
I think you
yes,
were
that's
mentioning
what we're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, out of
can I-
interest, if does it show us as if you check out Pakratt your own settings? Not
I was
necessarily.
going to ask Pakratt if we could bring his fortress back up on screen and have a look at his tavern again. Let me just go get that.
Yeah, because I'm interested if the dormitory shows up as one rented room there in the tavern settings, or does it count somehow
Indeed.
the beds?
Okay, I've got Pakratt's fortress back up on screen.
So where am I clicking?
Right, so you're looking at your tavern at the moment, aren't you? If you click into your
Yes.
tavern zone and then look at the... that's your dining hall. Is it linked to a tavern?
This should be the tavern. Is my tavern not a? Is my tavern not a? What did I do wrong here?
You've got it as a... Just click on the magnifying glass. No, you've done it. You're a dining hall and a tavern. You're ahead of the game.
Done exactly what we
Didn't know.
quote veterans learned here. You already done it.
Yeah.
Wait, so you guys were making what you're saying is you normally make a meeting area, and the meeting area you turn into a tavern.
Yes.
Yes.
So I did it the other way around. I just did.
You
I
did
figured
it-
That, yeah.
You did it the best way, but we didn't
Okay.
know that.
Yay! Well, no wonder none of them are going to the dining room to eat. If you notice, there's lots of guys over in this one, and there's nobody down there.
Yeah.
Except one set of seeds that have just been sitting on that one chair for a very long time. Plump helmets, of course. What else would it be?
So yeah, could you click in your tavern again
Yep,
and have a look at the magnifying glass?
of course.
Okay, so yeah, it's a tavern. All visitors are welcome. You've got 43 goblets in there and 5 stored instruments. Your dance floor is 8x7, which is more than the minimum.
You tell me that that a 10 by 10 would be maximum, though. I'm going to
Yeah.
see about knocking down a wall for that.
Yeah. I mean, you can expand it into the... What you could do is take all of the chairs and tables out of your dining room now that we know it's not needed, and make that into a dedicated dance hall. Just add it into the temple zone, or something like that. Whatever you fancy. So rented rooms, you've got 0 of 0 as well. Do you have any?
Yeah, I think Pakratt, if you click on that dormitory that you kind of think
Yeah.
is part of the thing, if you click on the magnifying glass of this one, okay, that is interesting. I think what is happening here is it is part of the you have connected this dormitory into a tavern, but
Yeah.
so I think how the game works is that it wants the connected areas to be of the bedroom zone.
Oh, rather than a
and you-
dormitory zone.
Yes, and you need to make like individual rooms for it to be in.
Yeah, because the bedroom,
Interesting.
it used to work out in a dormitory, didn't it? But looking at it,
I recall. Yes, there you could have this kind of a, let's say, hostel-like kind of a a more big room in there. But at least at the moment in the Steam version, it's not working. Well, it's actually not working even for the bedrooms, but they show up as the rented rooms if you do that.
So what I want to do is I want to take this, put some walls in here, make them actual rooms, and then link them that way.
Yeah.
you don't
Okay.
even need to make separate rooms. What you can do is just paint a bedroom over each of the beds. You have to do it individually, a bit like if you're doing tombs without doors. So, yeah, you can just designate a bedroom over each of the beds, and it would still work as individual bedrooms then.
Yeah, but when I say need to, I mean like I
Yeah.
kinda need to.
Yeah, indeed.
It's the dwarven need to. You got to make it look right. I mean, they can't just kind of sleep out alone like that. So they got to have their own little rooms now. Okay.
There's people in chat saying that they have rooms that have been rented out.
Oh, that is cool that it's actually working then for some at least. So
Yeah.
It's there must be something random because I had it in the previous forts. Like they just didn't go there.
So, and my fortress, like the current fortress I've got, I'm not accepting visitors. My previous fortress, I can't remember. I didn't get around to putting down bedrooms for the tavern, so I don't remember. What is rent paid with? Performances usually. Yeah, your visitors don't pay you to stay in the rooms, but they are more likely to become long-term citizens if they like to petition to stay in your fortress if they've got rooms to rent out. You can also rent out rooms for your library as well. Now that's something that I did do in my last fortress. I had some scholars come visit, and I had some rooms linked to the library. Actually, I'm just wondering if that was the fortress before the Steam version. It might have been. You haven't got visitors in your fortress either, have you, Zemalf?
No, not at the moment. No,
no scholar visitors either. Yeah, but yes, you can do that. You can have scholar visitors as well. But we'll be covering libraries and things in a future fortress. But yeah, that's been a revelation to me too. It just goes to show. I often say this when we look at everybody learns from everybody's fortress, and it doesn't matter how new you are to the game or how many decades in the game you've got. You'll still have something to teach everybody else, and you'll still have something you can learn from everybody else, because even if it's just inspiration.
Yeah, because there is so much to learn in this game.
Yeah, indeed. There are so many variables that how people put those variables together can be completely unique between people. So, and then there's the how people use the different mechanics as well. So that's great. Anything else we need to cover off on? Oh, if you don't want visitors coming to your fortress, set it to citizens only, so that then you don't get any random visitors coming in. If you don't want a fortress that is full of performance troops drinking your beer, then just say no visitors, and they'll stop turning up. Anything else? I think, anything else to add, anybody? I think we've pretty much covered off the topic of those rooms now.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, does it go kind of a little bit beyond this, but the instruments in the taverns, like about the performances?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So if you having performers in your tavern, oh, actually, that was something I was going to mention. Yeah, if you have a tavern keeper, and the same for performers as well. I didn't know. If you appoint a performer to your tavern, or you appoint a tavern keeper to your tavern, then depending on how diligent they are about their jobs. So yes, Pakratt here has a tavern keeper and has a number of performers assigned. Those people will make it their goal in life to feed everybody alcohol constantly. And I've had a number of dead dwarfs in the past that have died in the tavern. They usually show as having died of suffocation. And that's just because they've been force-fed so much alcohol that they've died of alcohol poisoning. Alcohol poisoning shows up as suffocation. So I've had so many deaths that I don't appoint performers and tavern keepers anymore, because over the years, I've lost some really good dwarfs to alcohol poisoning because of extra diligent tavern keepers.
Yeah, it's. I think it happens when if a dwarf goes unconscious in the tavern. So basically, if they fall asleep, either I think they can pass out or they just fall asleep there. Then they will basically just pour alcohol down their
Indeed,
throats.
Yeah.
Actually, on the topic of the tavern keepers and performers, and we were talking about visitors before. Like the the tavern keepers and the performers are the ones who get rumors from the visitors. Like if you get information about artifacts around the world and things like that. If you have those assigned them, I don't know, Sel, if you know it, but I think it doesn't happen if you don't have those roles assigned. Does it happen? Does it happen naturally?
Because I get rumors from the outpost liaisons and the various diplomats that turn up and talk to my traders, but I haven't noticed because I'm not getting visitors to my fortress, so not sure about that.
Yeah, because I think my, again, kind of there's so many things about this game that I remember or have seen, but I think it happens in a way that when they are passing the drink, they are also having a chat, and that, and they possibly get rumors, but it also works the other way around. So that's how the visitors, especially if they are plotting in your fortress, they want to steal an artifact, they get the information by kind of the same way as well. Indeed. When they are talking in the taverns.
And if you don't have a tavern keeper or a performer assigned, they'll still be able to, it won't stop anybody from drinking, and it won't stop anyone from performing either. You'll still get performances happening, but they'll be spontaneous rather than assigned performances, indeed. So it could be anybody will decide to read some poetry or do a dance or... and interestingly, if you don't have the musical instruments that a particular dance form requires, they'll air guitar it. So you'll catch them sometimes doing the dance and performing the music, and you'll if you click on a dwarf and have a look at their task, you'll see that they are simulating an erithol or whatever the procedurally generated name for that procedurally generated music is. You can also have a look at the dance forms that they're doing. It's really quite interesting, very detailed. Be things like the dance form proceeds by gently waving a left arm in the air, followed by a sharp kick with the right leg. The dwarfs will then bend and swish their hips, that sort of thing. There'll be a very, very detailed description of exactly how to perform that dance.
Yeah, that is something I like to do as well. I like to read on these randomly generated poems and poems. And then for that music thing, when they are simulating, kind of sadly, what often is that kind of that instrument that they are simulating, you can't actually build that. So then you kind of are hoping that, and sometimes that's the musical composition that they always do.
Yeah.
And then you don't have the instrument, so then you have to hope for that you get it from
like elves or human instruments or something like that. Yeah, because they can't build it themselves.
I found out how fun it was to try. Yeah, fun to make instruments in this game.
Oh god, yeah.
Don't have half the materials that they want to make. I mean, try making a glass dock when you don't have any sand. A glass dock for So finding this one out.
Yeah, but you should be able to place an order for musical instruments, I think, with the outpost liaison.
Yeah, you can if you are not a mountain home yet.
Yeah.
I tried to put in an order for sand itself, and they brought me a whole 3 sand.
Yeah, it's not. Sand and rocks and stuff, fluxstone and things. It's a very inefficient way to get your materials from the.
I understand
traders.
that they have limited room, but more than 3 guys.
Yeah. Oh, people are asking me, how did I know the cause of death? That was actually using DF Hack. DF Hack, you can do a show death, and it will tell you. And yes, suffocation is due to alcohol poisoning. And so probably because they've been pouring alcohol over them while they were collapsed on the floor. But we are about out of time now. Believe it or not, that's been 2 hours that have flown over. That's funny how much time passes in the pub. So, any last thoughts or comments? How necessary is DF Hack? Oh, it's not. No, not anymore. I used to find before this version, as soon as DF Hack came out, after a major update, I would get it. Same with Therapist, same with tile sets, Legends Viewer. Now with the Steam version, DF Hack is out in alpha for the Steam version, and I'm in no rush for it at all. I haven't downloaded Therapist yet. I'm not in a rush for it. It's not a requirement. There'll be a few little...
Yeah, definitely not a requirement. I installed it because the latest version did have let's say a bug fix for keeping the nicknames, which is a problem at the moment as it's they sometimes get lost if they get a significant skill like Kill a Forgotten Beast or something.
Yeah.
So the attack saves the nickname. So things like that, but definitely not necessary.
Yeah, indeed. All right, so we're going to leave it here for now. And so Zemalf and Pakratt, would you just like to remind everybody where they can see you while I go find somebody to raid?
Yeah, sure. I can start. So as you have seen, my name is Zemalf. I stream on Twitch on twitch.tv/Zemalf and can be found with the same name on YouTube. And Dwarf Fortress at the moment has been it's not my main game. I am variety streamer, but in the 2 months the Steam version has been out, I think I have 300 hours on Dwarf Fortress, so I have not been playing anything else at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, you are deep into this now. You're locked in.
Yep, pretty much.
And yeah, I'm still Pakratt, and you'll find me on Twitch as well. You'll see me on YouTube now and again. Find me nights Eastern now all the time. I still do a lot of Minecraft. Usually modded, do a lot of TFC and Blood and Bones and other difficult packs of such nature, and everything from Spelunky to Dwarf Fortress. You'll find random what I'm doing of the day, but it'll still be me. So I'll still just stop on by whenever you want to see what's going on.
And I might be streaming a little bit later on myself. If I'm streaming Dwarf Fortress, but I've got a bit of work to do first. We'll see how it goes. But we are going to go pay a visit to Cancel TV, who's currently playing Dwarf Fortress. So let's go across.
What a surprise.
Indeed. Let's go over and say hello to Cancel. So thank you for watching, everybody. It's been an absolute delight. Thank you for joining me, Zemalf and Pakratt. And hopefully we'll see you soon. So bye for now, everybody.